Black supremacy. And with this particular video, I want to talk about how the purpose, not the purpose, but the function of the matrix, one of the main functions of the matrix is to slow you down tremendously. And by you being slowed down, you stay kind of in a limbo state. You stay kind of like in an in-between realm where you keep believing in this middle realm, this middle reality. So by slowing down, you maintain the rules of their reality, because those rules only exist at a certain speed. You know, a lot of times when they talked about time travel, they talked about going faster than the speed of light and trying to go, that if you go too fast, that you'll begin to time travel. You'll begin to go beyond dimensions. And when you go into different dimensions, the rules are different in different dimensions. So the faster you go and the more dimensions you travel through, the more of an unlimited being you become. So to lock you down in any rules, they have to lock you down in a particular dimension. So they have to slow you down so that you can stay there. Because if you get out of that dimension too fast, then you go beyond the rules and laws of that dimension. You start bending the rules, going beyond the laws of gravity. Then the laws that you live by become relative to what dimension you're on. And as long as you continue to travel, then your relativity continues to change. So the rules, laws, and regulations of that dimension continue to change. I don't want to go over your head with this, but the main function of the matrix is to slow you down. All destinations lead to Black God consciousness. If you can accelerate and exhaust them fast enough, all of them. But this plane will not allow you to accelerate at a rate where they all can be exhausted. You never really get to the exhaust point where you get to the unlimited consciousness point within your experience. You always stay reaching for this, that, and the other. And you never attain the last thing that you reach for because you couldn't accelerate fast enough to exhaust that goal. So you end up reaching for something else and reaching for something else, and you stay within reach. You stay within the realm that is within their reach. Because they didn't let you go fast enough, because they made up rules and regulations to make sure that you stay maintained within their rules and regulations. Like the purpose of the rules and regulations is not to rule and regulate you particularly for any other reason than to maintain you within their rules and regulations. Because if you go beyond, if you move so fast, then you will go beyond their rules and regulations. That's go beyond them. You'll go beyond something that can maintain their reality and maintain their infrastructure. You'll go somewhere where they will no longer be significant anymore to you at the rate that you're moving. So they have to slow you down. Everything they have for you within their reality is to slow you down. A license to do this. That's to slow you down. You can't just get in your vehicle and go and drive and go. They want to slow you down. Everything you're trying to obtain, you have to jump through these loopholes so you can be slowed down in doing them. If you can accelerate into doing many of these things that you wanted to do, you would exhaust them and you would see that they was irrelevant anyway. Most of the things you want to do, they're so important because you can't get to the exhaust point. But once you actually achieved all these goals and made all the money and did all the things you want to do and got there real quick, you'll see that their whole reality was bullshit. But they have to slow you down within it and make these goals seem unachievable and stretch them out and drag them out to keep you within the matrix. Because if you got to the goal, you realize that, wait a minute, this ain't shit. So they have to license you to do this. They have to license you to drive. They have to give you a permit to do this, permission to do that. And by the time you get the permit or get the license, you got another goal. You're trying to reach something else that you need licensing to be permitted to do. So when they license you to drive, to get in the vehicle, now they set the speed limits so that you can't go beyond a certain speed. As though the speed that you move has something to do with the probability of death or an accident. That which is meant to happen can either happen fast, or that which is meant to happen can either happen slow. Just because you slow down the video or slow a movie down doesn't change the narrative. It doesn't change the movie. It's still the same movie. You're just watching the shit in slow motion. So they got to keep you trapped in the matrix within slow motion so you can't accelerate your ass up out of this. Every goal that you try to achieve within that realm there's something to slow you down and get into it. You need some permit and some ID and some identification and some certification, and you need this, that, and the other. That's to slow you down. So, because it's so slow, you believe in it. So, because if you move slower, you can be devoted, because you got to be devoted to attain shit within an artificial realm. You have to really believe in it, because if you're not devoted and don't believe in it, you're not going to wait that slow period. So if you really didn't believe in it, after you see how much they slow you down to trying to obtain it, you begin to believe that it's a worthwhile journey, because that's the only thing that's going to motivate you to go through it. But then even if you do go all the slow process to go through it to reach these different goals and objectives, then once you get there, you realize that, damn, that really ain't shit. I want to do something else now. I want to open up another business. I want to do some other shit. I want to travel now. I want to do this. And then they slow you slow down in doing all that, and you do that, and you realize that, damn, that really ain't shit. That ain't shit. That ain't shit. That ain't shit. That ain't shit. And all destinations, once exhausted, will lead you to God consciousness, will lead you to self-realization, will lead you to no longer believing in this artificial realm, which will force your mind and your consciousness to ascend and go to a higher level of perception, a higher level of contemplation, a higher level of creativity beyond what's even available here. But they have to slow you down because they know you're going to get to that point. If you're allowed to move uninhibited, if they can accelerate, if you can accelerate your death here, then you will be because you'll be reborn into the God consciousness that you really are. But they slow your death down with everything. They slow it down. And not knowing it's not the you that's dying physically, but the you that's living, that believes, that's attached to this artificial reality is what's going to have to die. But they want to drag that death out. They want to drag that drive and that motivation to try to prevail within this artificial world. So that way you never really see that it's artificial. Because you never get to the limits of any part of it. Because it's so slow to get to them. You get bored and frustrated, and then you move on to something else, and you never really hit the corners of the tank. You never really hit the corners of the fishbowl. So you just try again in some other way, and it keep you stuck in this realm trying, not knowing that your end game and that your ultimate objective is to accelerate and move at an accelerated speed to transcend this particular plane. All destinations lead to Black God consciousness if you can reach them at an accelerated rate. If you get to them at a slow motion, you're stuck here. You become more denser by the time you get to the destination. By the time you get to the destination, you 500 years old. And you weigh 5,000 fucking pounds. Because they're slowing you down. And you're taking on weight and attachment to try to move within this artificial realm. That's by design. Because they taxing shit on you. You being taxed. They're affixing weight to you and debt to you to keep you further imprisoned within this realm. They have to slow you down in all the ways and everything you intend to do. You want to just have a simple building or a simple business or a non-for-profit organization. Anything you're trying to do within their reality is so much bureaucracy to slow you down so that you believe in them and their authority and their power, not realizing that it's meant for you to create something beyond anything that they can license or permit. You're supposed to create something that's beyond all that. What you're creating is the end, is the finality to all their shit. What you're creating is the destruction of their reality because it exposes it by going beyond it. It exposes the limitations of their reality. That's what you're really supposed to create. But you won't know that until you exhaust all the multiple choices of bullshit that you have to go through bureaucracy and red tape in order to create within a dimension. Every career and everything that they have in front of you for you to aspire to is limited as what you as a divine being can create because you're beyond them. You're a new entity. They still playing old tapes. They still maintaining the old construct. They still worshiping and believing in the ideas of people who have died, who have already left this planet. They have not even been born into the new consciousness and reality of what could be manifested here on this plane. They still playing old tapes of old people that are no longer here. And slowing you down within that by trying to maintain the construct of those old ideas. The sole function of the matrix is to slow you down in all your ways. They say in order for you to get in a relationship with someone, you have to get married and go through all this red tape to marry somebody, to slow you down, to keep you from getting into your soulmate and your twin flame quickly, to have you believing in drama and negativity and opposition and resistance and arguments and domestic disputes, to have you caught up into all that shit and trying to divorce and all this shit before you even get to the being you're supposed to interface with, because they're supposed to slow you down, because your bliss and your heaven as a being is the end of their reality. Hell ends where heaven begins. So the quicker you get into the highest vision and the highest version of who you are, the quicker that their reality is exposed. You end their reality. You break the rules when you tap into the higher being that you are at an accelerated rate. So you have to find a way to get to that, to not be distracted by the carrot on the end of the stick that they give you that you can never reach. That the more you try to get to the carrot, not only is the carrot moving with you, but the stick is getting longer and longer as you move towards the carrot while the carrot is moving with you. Because they have mastered trying to slow you down. Because they know that once you'll find out that all this shit is boring. All this shit is nothing. That they're invaluable, that they're irrelevant, that they're insignificant, that they're lifeless, that they're dead, and they're nothing compared to the ingenious, unlimited, unexhaustible, creative spirit that you really are. They have nothing compared to that because they only live here on this particular dimension. This is the only place that they live. You live in an eternal, infinite reality that you pull from, an eternal Akashic and collective source that you continue to pull energy from. This is it from them. So if they want you to play with them and play in their game and play with their reality, they have to slow you down so that you can stay within this swamp with them. You know what I'm saying? You can't even really swim and move around into it. They told you that it was free swimming today, but they didn't tell you that it was coagulated and filled with just swamp and glue. That what you think is a swimming pool is a glue trap. Because this is the only way where you can entertain them at, where they have value in this artificial world. So they have to slow you down so you can stay here with them, because otherwise you will blink through this one. You will blink through these limited dimensions where they exist at, where they thrive at, where they feed at as energy vampires. The whole purpose of this shit is to slow you down. But if your goal is a goal that can be slowed down by them in any way, you have the wrong goal, because you have made them your master on this particular plane. This is King Noble Black Supremacy, signing out.